the Storied Human. I'm Lynn Thompson, and my guest today is Lauryn Axelrod. She wrote a book recently called 10 Words, and I'm so intrigued how she found those words, and her journey is fascinating. So let's talk to Lauryn about those things. But first, a little background. It's easy to feel overwhelmed by the world today. We are surrounded by war, oppression, depression, and fear. We need help. How can we heal ourselves and the world around us? What do we need to become better people in a better world today? What if just 10 words could change your life and the world for the better? In 10 words, Interfaith, Interspiritual leader Lauryn Axelrod offers a practical path forward based on a contemporary but timeless set of 10 simple words distilled from the common principles of the world's great faith and wisdom traditions, supported by modern science and psychology. 10 Words provides an integrated inner spiritual guide we can use every day to become happier, healthier, more fulfilled people in a kinder world that supports all. I really want that. Lauryn herself is an ordained interfaith, interspiritual minister, spiritual director, chaplain, and certified grief educator. A graduate of One Spirit Interfaith Interspiritual Seminary, she's also the founding spiritual director of Three Mountains Interspiritual Community. Lauryn writes the Substack newsletter, Radical Spirituality, Getting to the Root of What Matters, and leads retreats and workshops virtually and in person. I'm really looking forward to hearing more about this. Welcome, Lauryn.
Thank you so much, Lynn. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's great to have you. So I'm getting the sense that this took a lot of work.
A lifetime.
This book just feels like the culmination of everything for you.
You nailed it. It's exactly what it is. It's really a lifetime of study and practice and asking the questions. How do we become better people in a better world? And asking them in really varied and deep ways. And at a certain point, the 10 words that came from that study and that, decades of practice and counseling people and having a lot of background in a lot of different faith traditions. Those 10 words, once they arrived, it was kind of like, oh, here you are. Here you are. Finally, there's a guide that you don't have to subscribe to one tradition or another, because like many of us, we're multi-faith, nuns, spiritual but not religious. We have, all kinds of things that basically say we don't want to be in a box.
Do you remember that there was a religious test going around the internet and people were taking it? It was really long and comprehensive to find out what religion you were. And I came out Episcopal shaman.
Right. That's what many of us are.
Yeah, Episcopal shaman Buddhist, I think it was. So yeah, I totally hear you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Most people I know are a mix of all kinds of wonderful things.
Right. And that's where we are now, in today's world. Like, while the traditional faith and wisdom traditions have a lot to teach us, they really do. Like, once you get past all the doctrine and the dogma and all the traumatizing stuff, when you get to the mystical roots of what every tradition is teaching, it's the same thing. They're saying the same things, right? And that's what I was looking for, is what are those common roots? What is true across the board? And that's where these 10 words come from. Whether we're talking about atheism or Zoroastrianism, we can go from A to Z, and these words apply. You don't have to be religious. You don't even have to call yourself spiritual for these words to make a difference in your life and in our world.
I love that practicality that you bring to such a deep study and so many years. That really appeals to me. Is it okay to share the 10 words now? Because I know listeners are probably like, what are they?
Of course. So you'll note that they all begin with A, B, or C. They are that foundational, right? They're that basic. And these are words that we all know. There's nothing new here. There's nothing exotic. That's the thing about this. Like, we know this. We just haven't really been doing it. It's a practice. So I look at this as a practice. So the 10 words, the first word is attention, because you're not going anywhere if you're not paying attention. And these days, that's kind of where modern spirituality stops. Mindfulness,
You got it.
right? Like, that's the end point. No, in this path, it's the beginning,
Yeah.
because you really can't go anywhere if your eyes aren't open and you don't have a map and you don't have good boots on. Like, you're going to get lost in the wilderness, right? You have to pay attention. And mostly because, we're already on a spiritual path, whether we know it or not. It's called life. And if we're not paying attention to the details of our lives and the world around us and other people, then we're missing it. We're missing the whole thing. So the first word's attention, acceptance, authenticity,
Mhm.
benevolence, balance. Fifth word. Contemplation, creativity, collaboration, celebration, and care. And what's beautiful about these words as well, they appear as individual words. Once you start working with them, they flow into each other. They become a complete path, because if the first word is attention and the last word is care, to care for something is to give your attention to it, to attend to it, just at a higher octave. Right. So it's really like, it's like a loop trail. It's like, and you can go around it and around it and around it and around it, or pick one word or pick another word. And it just sinks in. And then there's transformation. Things change. You change. The world changes.
I love that because it's rooted in something so relatable. It's rooted in what we know already. We just don't even know we know it.
Right. Exactly. There's nothing exotic about this. And I think that one of the dangers that we get into in modern spirituality in the West is exotifying it.
Oh yeah.
Ooh, it's all about, shamans in the Amazon. Been
Right.
there, done that. It's not really all that exotic, but that's what we do. We want the exotic. We want the monk in the robes. I am actually a monk. Am I
Yeah,
wearing a robe?
you are, aren't you? That's right. You
Yeah.
follow the monastic tradition. Yeah.
Right.
I I think that that's such a good point because when we exotify it, we create that distance.
Right. Right.
Like
And
that's
then it's
something
all
to, yeah,
Yeah, and then it's also, some dude in a robe is telling you what to believe and what is true for you without your own experience. And the
right.
thing about this path is it's a path of inquiry. What do these
Yeah,
words mean to you? How do they
yeah.
show up in your life? How can you cultivate them? And how can you use them to help create a better world?
I love how personal that is because one thing that's so dangerous is looking to an expert in any area of our lives and believing we have to have that someone who tells us, how to be. And
Right.
it can be dangerous. So this is a quest, you know, for ourselves, like internally for ourselves.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
how did you get here? Like how long did this book take to write?
Well, how long it actually took to write versus a lifetime of study and practice, the words themselves came out in about 10 minutes.
I love that. That's like a
But
gift.
yeah, and I really do feel like they're a gift. And they were a gift to me, and I'm just spreading the gift, right? I'm just passing it on.
I love
Um
that feeling. Yeah, I get that feeling sometimes when I write poetry. There's certain things that just come and
yeah,
they're not even mine. They just
yeah,
came.
yeah.
Yeah.
These are
Oh,
not
that's
mine.
lovely. That's so lovely. Yeah.
Yeah. These words are not mine. And like I said, they're nothing new. We know them. All I've done is put them into a structure or a framework. And really, a lot of it came out of my own quest. After decades of deep study and practice in, everything from Zen to Taoism to I was raised Jewish, I grew up in Episcopal schools, I was nurtured by an African American female preacher, so I can do the hallelujah, do I hear you testifying, and I can sing gospel badly, but I can sing it. And I love to sing it, right? But what happened was, I mean, I could do my yoga, I could do my Tai Chi, I could do my meditation, my altar practices, and blah, 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 blah. And it was basically a spiritual smoothie. I was taking all these different things and putting them together because what's missing in pick and choose modern spirituality. While I love the fact that we are trying to find our own authentic path, what happens when you cherry pick is you have no actual structure. And the traditional paths, say what you will about them, they give you a structure.
Yes.
So what I was realizing after, 40 years of seeking and learning a lot and having a lot of those great transcendent experiences, but really still feeling like, yeah, I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what's happening here. What I wanted was not a box, but a container of some kind, a vessel of some kind with transparent, flexible walls. What I really needed was a map. And
Yes.
there isn't one that is truly interfaith, interspiritual. And that's what I wanted. And that's where the 10 words came from. Really for myself. Like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I need I needed a path. I needed to be able to say, I'm on the path or I'm not on the path. And when you're not in a particular tradition, you don't have that.
You don't have a path. Yeah.
You don't have a path. And so the 10 words really were my seeking to answer those questions for myself. And then once they came out and I went, oh, I think I have something here, like that feeling. And I shared them with friends. And, very quickly there were a group of people who said, ooh, I want to do that too. This is what I've been looking for.
Yeah.
And so the first group, we spent a month with each word, really exploring, really investigating. And I kept religious notes, right? I kept notes about this process. And that's what became this book.
That's great. You user tested it.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely user tested. It definitely works. Like at
That's
the end of that year, we all like I felt like I grew more in that year than I grew in 15 years prior. And everyone else, it's like there was clarity. And there was joy, because a lot of modern spirituality is actually joyless. It is. It's like, we have to do this. You have to sit on your cushion. You have to, it can be so like self-flagellating.
yeah.
You have to let go of this. You have to let go of that. No, no, no. We need joy. We need to bring the joy in. We need
Yeah.
to bring, and the thing about these words, they're not thou shalt nots.
Right.
And they're not thou shalts, they're principles. So, how does this principle apply? Let me bring this principle in. And these principles are very nourishing, you
And
know?
I'm getting the feeling that it's very freeing when you start to allow this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Instead
Yeah.
of, I interviewed somebody who had she wrote a book called Blissful Thinking. And she was sort of saying there's so much of this, meditation and, initiation and all this stuff that I tried that really didn't work. She goes, it just didn't work for me. And I thought that was so brave because it
Yeah.
can be a little bit inhibiting. It can.
Yeah. I'd
Yeah.
spent 15 years in Zen. Believe me, I was like, I need some fun. Where's the joy?
Yeah.
And we're here in this body, on this planet, in this life for joy.
Yeah.
Like, you don't get tangerines and fall leaf colors and sunsets and aurora borealis and all of these things. I'm just thinking about like what I've experienced in the last 4 days or something,
Yeah.
you know, where you just go, wow, this is great. This is amazing.
That's part of being
And that's
alive,
one of the
like
words too.
really alive. Yeah. Oh, that's so cool.
It's it's the point of being alive. It
Yes,
really
it is.
honestly is.
It really is.
Yeah.
And I just love how you found that. So, were you always spiritual? Like, what were you like as a little girl?
Yeah. My parents would definitely say I came out of the womb this way. And I was I like I said, I sort of my upbringing, I was surrounded by religiousness. My family's Jewish. I have an uncle who's a rabbi. I went to Episcopal school, so I was in chapel every single day saying the Lord's Prayer, and then on Sundays in this, Black Christian church. And then my mother was a seeker and she got into Zen early on and said, Here, read this, Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. And off I went. I always had some sense of like, yeah, no, this isn't it. There's something else. I mean, this is great, but there's also something else going on
Yeah,
here.
you could feel it.
Yeah.
I find that to be true with people that end up writing something this cool is that it was your whole life. And even as a child, you knew you had a sense.
Yeah. I mean, at one point I was considering going to rabbinical school, and my uncle, the rabbi, talked me out of it.
Wow, what did he say?
He said, Do you really want to be stuck in one tradition? He knew me. He knew me pretty well by that point. And he said, Do you
Yeah,
really want to be stuck in one tradition? And I thought about it and I said, No,
that's very wise of him. Yeah, because even already you weren't stuck in one tradition and you wouldn't have been happy.
no, I
Yeah.
wouldn't have, and unlike a lot of people, and I have, it breaks my heart to hear the stories of religious trauma, right? People who've really been traumatized. They were traumatized by the religion of their family, the religion of their birth, felt not accepted, pushed out, had a really hard time with the structures and the rigidity. I didn't have that. I was lucky. I just got the good stuff.
Yeah. I was lucky that way too. I pretty much got the good stuff. I was
Yeah.
raised Lutheran, but it was the evangelical side, which was pretty liberal. And
Yeah.
then after a long stretch, my husband and I went to Episcopal church for a while. And then we
Hmm.
went to the Quaker church. And now we're
Yeah.
just taking a long break. But
Yeah.
those were
Yeah.
very positive experiences for me. And I didn't understand how how hurtful it can be to be in a
Yeah.
place where people reject you. I did have one friend tell me years and years ago over drinks that I was going to hell, like for sure. And I had known this person forever, and I'm like, and I've since forgotten it because she's like done a 180, but I'm like, what? I think
Yeah.
I was like 25 years old, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it messes with people's minds. It really does.
Yeah. It does. And the thing that I love about the 10 words, right? Which, the subtitle of the book is an interspiritual guide to becoming better people in a better world. What I love about them is there's no dogma. There's
Yeah,
nothing you have to believe. I'm not telling you, I'm not defining whatever you call the sacred. I mean, we have gosh knows how many names, right? You can call it
yeah,
whatever you want. You can call it the great cheesecake for all I care. I don't care. What
right.
I'm asking is that you find your own relationship with whatever you call sacred.
Yes,
And the way that you do that is you find yourself. There's a great story. One of my favorite kind of spiritual stories is it's actually a Hasidic tale where a young man travels for a long way to go to this remote village and to meet the Rebbe there, the spiritual leader. And he gets there and he says, Rebbe, I've come. And the Rebbe's like, so why are you here? What do you want? And he says, I want to find God. And the Rebbe goes, You're wasting your time. And the young man is just perplexed. He's like, but why? And he said, because God's everywhere. You didn't have to travel this far. And he says, well, then what should I be doing here? Why am I here? And the Rebbe says, to find yourself. And maybe you'll find God in the process. Right. And
that's so
so
good.
It's so true, right? But this is a story that goes across traditions. I happen to like that version of it, right? But the other version is the monk who goes to the Zen priest and says, tell me what is the core root of Zen? And he says attention. He goes, no, 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 I know that, but like, what's it really about? And he says attention, attention, attention.
So
So
good.
one of the things you have to pay attention to is, who are you? Or what are you? It's the first spiritual question. There are three questions. All of spirituality and religion can be boiled down to three questions. I'm a reductionist. I like getting down to the roots of
I
things,
noticed. Yeah.
right? So there's three questions. Who am I? Or what am I? What's all this? What's going on here? And how am I supposed to live in relationship to that? Those are the three questions that all religion and spirituality tries to answer. We think it's about God. It's not. It's about those three questions. We find God in the process, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. So you have to start there with yourself.
Mhm.
Yeah. And again, if you're staying outside of yourself or you're looking to someone else to tell you, you're never going to get there.
Mm-mm.
You have to go inside. And I keep seeing that image of people climbing a mountain and they're all taking a different path.
Yep.
It's the same
Mhm.
mountain and they're going to the same thing. And I just love that.
Yeah.
I
The
love that
mountain can
image.
handle that mountain is bigger than any path on it.
Yeah.
So you can have lots of different paths, and that's the beautiful thing about 10 words, right? It's a
Yes.
map. It's a map. And it says, you can take the map and go, okay, I want to get to the summit of the mountain, or ooh, there's a river swimming hole over there. I want to go there. Or I need to get back to the parking lot. Like that the map itself can get you where you want to go, but it's not going to tell you what the destination is. I'm not promising you're going to reach enlightenment or nirvana or go to heaven or be richer, more powerful, none of that. It's
Yeah.
just explore the words, see what happens.
Yeah.
Be curious, come in from a place of inquiry, of not knowing. Because if you think you know, what's the point of going on the journey?
There you go. There is no point. Right. There has to be some discovery for yourself.
Mhm.
It's going to be different for everybody.
Right.
That's what I love about these words. They're so flexible. They're so
Hmm.
open to, they want you can jump in and you can explore your own way. Yeah,
Hmm.
this is wonderful. So tell me about being a monk. How did that happen?
Oh, I think I was always a monk.
Okay, you were always a
But
monk. You just made
I
it
was
official.
I was always a monk. My tradition, my home, but I call my home tradition, right? My home tradition, which is Judaism, we don't have a monastic tradition. There aren't monks in Judaism, because Judaism is very focused on the here and now, feet on the ground. What are you doing in the world with other people? But I spent a significant amount of time in Buddhism and in Taoism, both of which have monastic traditions. And they appealed to me, but I also was like, I'm not going to go to some mountaintop monastery and drop out of the world. I mean, I like to go sit in the coffee shop. I like to go to the movies. I don't feel like you have to extricate or pull yourself out of life to find spirituality. I think it's the opposite. I think you have to throw yourself deeply into all that life is to find it. So my version of monasticism comes out of a trend. It's a small trend, but it's an interesting trend called new monasticism, which takes the gems of a monastic life, which is living from your spiritual center all day, every day. But you're not in the cloister. You're in the world. You have a family, you're working, you're participating, you're doing, podcasts. You're in the world, but you live through your spiritual center. And it's also kind of where the 10 words got their start, was looking at, all monastic traditions, they have precepts or guidelines or rules of life, right? That order their day, their week, their month, their practice. We don't really have those if we're not monks. And that's kind of hard, right? It's like, well, what am I supposed to do all day, every day? We kind of have to make it up.
Yeah.
So I started looking at all of the precepts and all the rules of life, going back to the Benedictines, going back to the Desert Fathers, Desert Mothers and Fathers, going, deep into Zen or Chan Buddhism, Tibetan Buddhism, Taoism, all of the precepts. I didn't like any of them because they were too restrictive, you know? They were
Yeah.
too restrictive. And so I had to make them up for myself. But the point was, I was trying to make up a structure that would keep me rooted
Yeah.
in my spiritual center and living from that center, but still in the world.
I
And
love it.
new monastics, like they have organic farms and, they may be social activists. I mean, it's really an interesting trend. And so Three Mountains, I founded Three Mountains with a group of people who also were like, yeah, sign me up. I'll be a monk. I want to be a monk.
So good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just love the idea that you understood that as restrictive as some of those precepts were, we still need guidelines. We need to consistently have a checkpoint. That's
Yep.
what I noticed, that it is really hard to make it up as you go along. It's hard to have a life without something, guardrails or
Yeah.
signposts or something. And
Yeah.
and we have to consistently try, in a sort of organized way, but nothing restrictive. And that's what I'm feeling, is that we can use these 10 words to return to, and not
Yes.
be like I often feel rudderless
Yeah.
without some spiritual tradition. I'm just like, well, that didn't go well. It's like, what am I going to do today? It's like, I just like that. I love what you're saying, is that you've worked it out, that there's good stuff that you pulled
Hmm.
from being spiritual and being exploring yourself, and yet you've gotten rid of that kind of restrictive, or
Right.
really separating yourself. I mean, that's great for some people. Some people do sit on mountaintops, and they do come back and bring us wisdom.
Right.
It's nothing against them, but that's not for everyone, and
Right. Right.
not
Uh,
necessarily spiritual. It's not necessarily spiritual.
Well, and to
The
hold
only
that
way
as
to be
the
spiritual.
that's what I mean. Is to hold that as the ideal, to say that I'm only really spiritual if I'm like, sitting on my
Yeah.
meditation cushion 18 hours a day
Yeah.
and 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 I really disagree with that. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's like creativity, right? Creativity is one of the words.
One of the words.
And it's like saying, well, I'm really only creative if I'm in the art studio painting. Oh, really? Where'd you
Yeah.
come up with that idea? And what about what you just made for dinner? And like,
Yeah.
like, it when we compartmentalize, when we say, well, I'm spiritual on Sundays, I go to church,
Yeah.
and the other 6 days, 6.5 days out of the week, I don't even think about it, then we do ourselves a disservice because we
We do.
really are we're on a spiritual path, as I said, every
Yeah.
day, all day, every day. It's called life.
Whether we're aware of it or not. Right. And so, how beautiful that you found a way to help people become more aware of it, because I certainly feel that way. I feel like I was on this path that I didn't understand, because I didn't have this kind of illumination. And then I started to realize, oh, I can sort of be present more and
Mhm.
figure it out and start asking those questions. But it's tough. I think people do compartmentalize, and I think it's a little bit about capitalism. We're good consumers if we if we label things, and now I'm going to go do something creative, and I have to, pay for a class and be creative and be a whatever. And
Right.
I've often said that it's funny. I did a lot of work with my kids' schools. I took a little time off from corporate work, and I
Hmm.
did volunteer work with my kids, with other moms, with the school moms. And some of their homes were so gorgeous. They were decorated so beautifully. They were so talented, and not just decorated beautifully, but the domestic arts, like they knitted and they crocheted and they made the color choices. Like, I used to just be amazed, and I realized they didn't see it that way. They didn't
Yeah,
see how creative they were.
I
And
know.
I'm just like, I'm there to tell them, it's just like, dude, you're it's all over. It doesn't matter that it's not hanging in a gallery.
Right.
You're expressing yourself, and telling you, it's beautiful. You're very creative. So there's all, and like the beautiful dinners and the baking and the choices. I mean, there's creativity oozing out of people. It's like they don't even,
Yeah.
you know,
They don't know. They don't know. I
yeah.
mean, the same way I'm stunned. So I'm also a hospice chaplain, and I, regularly meet patients who I saint them. I'm like, you're sainted,
Oh,
because they tell me the stories of what they've done in their lives, and I'm blown away. I'm blown away by, there's one gentleman who he's so lovely. By day, he was an engineer, sort of high level engineer. In the evenings after work for 35 years, he would go to the children's hospital and hold the babies in the ICU, the babies that were dying. Right? And I'm just like, you're, you know, totally like anonymously, like not, this wasn't I need to get on
yeah.
YouTube and talk about it or TikTok and
Uh,
look at what I'm doing. I'm holding a baby. None of that. Just quietly went and held those babies. And I just, when he told me the story, I just broke down in tears, just like
that's
you kind of
so
did.
beautiful. Yeah.
Right.
But,
And we are doing this all the time.
but that's
People
the
are
thing.
doing this.
People are, and they're connected and they're helping each other. Like my
Yes.
husband and I always talk about, you have to remember who you really are. And when you see it, when people who are not connected to who they are, or that we are connected, they don't maybe let it out until there's a disaster. Then they have no
Right.
time to think about it, and
Right.
they help each other.
Right.
I
So
mean,
you just
amazingly,
You
right?
just
They
named
just,
two words. You just named two words. No, seriously, authenticity and care,
yeah.
right? That this is who we are. We are,
Yes.
and
Yes.
benevolence, a third word, right? These
Yeah.
are like we are this is who we are. We don't have to try so hard. We need to
Right.
get the other stuff out, let the other stuff get out of the way so we can
Yeah.
be these better people that we already know we are.
I love that. It also feels like you're talking about, don't be afraid to live a simpler life and focus on what's important to you. I know that
Mhm.
I'm trying really hard to let go of some things and to simplify my life so that it's what means the most to me and brings me the most pleasure.
Mhm.
And I
And you
think everyone needs to do that.
and you just made the gesture, right? That I like to say, we focus so much in sort of modern psychology and modern, spirituality of like, I gotta let go of this. I gotta get rid of that. But what you did was this,
I brought it back to
right?
my chest. Yeah.
You brought in what you wanted, and there's only so much space.
Yeah.
So if I'm bringing in simplicity, you're not going to have to work very hard at clearing out the clutter. It's just going to fall away when you focus on bringing it in. And that's what these words do. They're nourishing. If I'm going to bring in the principle of collaboration in my life, right? What's that? What's going to fall away? Ego, greed,
Yeah.
all kinds of
Selfishness. Yeah. Yeah.
selfishness, right?
Very
All of
good.
that stuff is just going to fall away because what I'm doing is bringing in collaboration as a principle. Collaboration, community, cooperation, all those CO words, right? They all fall under collaboration.
I love that.
Yeah.
So, is there anything else you would like my listeners to know? Like, is there anything we haven't said? And also, how can we get in touch with you?
Really, I would just like to say the beautiful thing about these 10 words. I mean, yes, get the book, because it does give you in the book, a little bit of background for each word, like why it's important and where in our traditions, both, modern and ancient, you can find this principle. Some suggestions for how it might show up in your life, some reflection questions, what to questions to ask yourself, journal, or do in a group, which is always great, work in a group together. Some suggested really simple practices that are not denominational in any way. Um, but what we've found is that you can also just write the word on a sticky note and stick it on your computer or on your bathroom mirror or all over your house, right? And every time you see it, it's just going to be that ping of bringing your attention. Do you see why attention is the first word, right? It's not the end point, it's the beginning. Bringing your attention to that principle. And you'll see it's going to show up. These words, these principles will show up every day. Sometimes it's more one than the other, but every day they will all show up in one way, shape, or form. So,
I like
yeah,
that. Yeah, you can focus. Yeah, that's really good. It's
yeah.
I like the signpost feeling of it. I like that.
We call them the waypoints sometimes, these words. They're the
Oh, that's
waypoints
so
on the
good.
map. Yeah.
Waypoints.
Yeah. Um, and where you can find out more is the book is available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble and Kobo and Apple and all your favorite retailers, independent bookstores too. They can order it. Um, Shop independent, shop local. And you can check out my website, which is laurynAxelrod.com. That's LaurynAxelrod.com. Check out my Substack, which is Radical Spirituality, getting to the root of what matters on Substack. And there's all kinds of articles and stories, lots of stories there. I'm a storyteller too. I love stories.
I love that.
Um, yeah. So, and there's Facebook and Instagram, the usual culprits.
Good. I'll put all that in the show notes, but not everybody reads the show notes, so I like to
Yeah.
ask people while we're
Yeah.
on together. Um,
Yeah.
and I kind of wish I had video. I usually just do audio, but
Yeah.
I think that we had a lot of really interesting interaction and moving
I
our
talk
hands.
with my
But
hand.
I do too. But
Yeah. Yeah.
maybe I'll put this up on. I have a connection to YouTube, so this goes out to YouTube. But maybe I can try to get the video up on YouTube because I really like, how physical we were. It's like, we weren't just chatting.
Animated, very
Yeah,
animated.
we were
Yeah.
pretty animated. Yeah. I
Yeah. No,
can't
what a
thank you
great
enough.
conversation. Thank
I just
you. And
love it.
thank
I
you so
love
much.
it.
Yeah, spread the word. I mean, my feeling with this, as I said, it was a gift to me. I'm passing it on. And we all know you don't become a spiritual being out in the world to, get rich. You do it because it's a calling and it's a passion and it's a service. And yeah, spread the word because really the more people that are doing this, the better off we're going to be in these scary times.
That's a very good point. The more people that are doing this, the less fear we'll have.
Yeah. Yeah. Imagine a world where, these 10 words are your 10 commandments
Ooh, there you
and,
go.
and everybody's doing it.
I like
You
that
know,
world.
the 10 commandments were originally called the 10 words.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So the translation of the original, what they were originally called in Hebrew, in biblical Hebrew, is the 10 words.
That's powerful.
Mhm.
That's so cool. Well, thank you so much.